I got my glasses on. What is up, my friends from Canada and the United States of America? This is Mark Perry, your favorite American CFL fan and editor of CFL News Hub. Welcome to another episode of, I'm calling this CFL Week in Review. I'm going to change it. The CFL News Hub show just doesn't work. And review in my notes, a weekly recap of the Canadian Football League. We got a little delayed start today. A good friend of mine came in from out of town. I haven't seen in a year, so, because of what. So we decided to kick off things literally at 9 o'clock instead. So the CFL is heading east once again. You just saw the commercial. The Toronto Argonauts and Saskatchewan Roughriders will be in Wolfville, Nova Scotia for their Week 6 matchup. Tickets go on sale to the general public on April 26th. That is 13 days from the time of this recording. Just wanted to put that out there as well. So if you want to be part of the show, podcast at CFL News Hub with your thoughts, or record an MP3 or video on your phone. We'll play it on next week's show, or you can call 888-430-7692, extension 3. If you got a voicemail, you want to voice your thing. Plus, we are on all sorts of podcast stuff: Stitcher, Audible, Player FM, Amazon, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes, Apple Podcast deal. Leave us a review on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate that. That spreads the word about the show. And you can watch the show live most of the time. CFL, I was changing CFL Week in Review, live at 8 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday, except for today because my friend came in out of town at the last minute. YouTube, Twitter, and the Facebooks. Timeline, my friends. Timeline. 57 days till CFL kickoff. So May 2nd is the CFL draft. Super excited to bring you full live coverage of that. May 11th is rookie camp. May 15th, training camp. June 23rd, first preseason game, May 23rd. And then May 23rd. June 9th, the regular season begins. And then it's like the regular season starts, and then I'm off that first week going to Disney World with the family in June. So I'm like, I'll be watching games. Definitely. I need a new hat. Do you think I need a new hat? I think I need a new hat. I love my Hamilton Tiger Cats hat, but it's like so dusty and like picks up all sorts of specks and stuff like that. It's been a crazy couple days at the News Hub publishing stuff. Everything going on with the XFL and USFL made me really kind of think about the CFL's position and all this stuff, and we'll get into that in a little bit. On this week's show, we talk about the Randy Ambrosi talks about expansion, which is where I'll get into my little spiel there. Plus, we have a preview of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers draft, plus a mock draft from CFL.ca. I want to go over that as well. So, hey, look, everybody is psyched for some football. The CFL fans are psyched because 50 days away from kickoff. Draft is just right around the corner. A draft, unlike the USFL, XFL, the CFL draft matters because these are teams that are trying to build towards a championship run. And the nice thing about the CFL and there's so many different levels. There's so much conversation about what's wrong with the CFL. And we're going to change that dynamic on this show. It begins today. We are changing the narrative. We'll get into that so much more. So if you like football, then subscribe to our channel. Spread the word about the Canadian Football League. It's a great sport. It is 3 downs. It's a lot of fun. And it's all summer long. You got from all the way June until November. So you football fans out there, you definitely want to get in touch with your Canadian side and check out the CFL stuff we got going on. We got a lot of stuff going on. We'll talk about some CFL fantasy football in a little bit. Don't forget, we got the CFL News Hub mobile app as well. So much going on, my friends. So we'll talk about this expansion stuff, the Blue Bombers. We'll get into the news and then into your social media stuff and my little rant as always. So, and what's up to everybody in the chat room? Sorry, we're a little late this week, but we'll get right down to it. So without further ado, folks, let's just get into the week that was the CFL. So CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie is confident in expansion plans. So it's no secret that many within the CFL and outside as well have been pushing for a league expansion, me as one of them, as there are currently an odd number of teams, while the connection between fans and overall entertainment value has been on the decline. Adding another franchise could help grow both components again and create opportunities for additional media attention. Recently, CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie discussed the expansion topic in a conversation with Joel Alfieri, a content provider for the Montreal Alouettes. Ambrosie was very enthusiastic about it, claiming that on a scale from 1 to 10, the chances of CFL growing in size were 11. Oh, so we are 110% instead of 100%. A large part of the expansion plans involves the Touchdown Atlantic series, which we just covered on the beginning of the show, which was recently brought back for the 2022 season. So Nova Scotia is getting their a game between the Saskatchewan Roughriders and Montreal Alouettes. Touchdown Atlantic first launched in 2005 and is designed to bring the football world to Canadians' maritime provinces. However, only 5 total games have been played since its inception, 4 of which have been in Montco, New Brunswick. This year, a matchup between the Roughriders and Argonauts will take place in Raymond Field, located at the University of Acadia campus in Wolfsville, Nova Scotia. The last time the Providence hosted the CFL game was over 15 years ago, which also happened to be the inaugural Touchdown Atlantic event. I love that they're doing this. This is fantastic. However, because that was during the preseason, July's game will mark the first time the CFL has been in Nova Scotia for a regular season game. Yes. Besides Touchdown Atlantic making the return, there are other reasons why this expansion could become a reality. Prior to the 2018 Grey Cup, the CFL released plans for a 10th franchise known as the Atlantic Schooners. A team with the same name was founded in 1982, but it failed to secure funding and disbanded just over a year later. With a new ownership group led by Bruce Bowser, Gary Drummond, and Anthony LeBlanc, the hope is that operations could be underway by 2022. But you know what has delayed much of that development? This was tweet back in 2019. Ideally, the Schooners would be playing in Dartmouth, which is part of the Halifax Regional Municipality. However, until a stadium with a sizable capacity is constructed there, collegiate venues in both Halifax and Monacht have been up for consideration as temporary homes. Quebec City, who was also in the discussion to host games at one point, while progress has been slow. Ambrosie confirmed in 2021 that the Schooners were still active in their pursuits. Reaching 10 professional teams would be a huge milestone for the Canadian football and would give hope for even further expansion. Ambrosie was asked whether or not 12 teams could be on the table, to which he responded, "You can't get to 12 until you get to 10. It seems as if Ambrosie is focused on short-term goals right now, which could still end up taking many years depending on what happens to the Schooners. Regardless of the time frame, though, the thought of growing is being taken very seriously by the league. And here's the thing, my friends. This is where the conversation needs to happen. Not changing the league from 3 downs to 4 downs as FUD spread by the rash. This is the conversation that needs to happen, is expansion. My issue has nothing to do with the rules. Y'all can talk about what rules changes, 3 downs. That's all junk. And I'm tired of hearing about that conversation. This is where the conversation needs to be. Expansion. There's 2 things that the CFL needs to do, in my opinion. Expansion and not be on TSN exclusively. If the NFL games are on CTV, is what I'm understanding. I don't live in Canada, so I don't know. But I believe NFL games are on there. Those are the 2 things. Stop talking about marketing. Stop talking about, oh, we're going to get so much money from gambling revenue and that's going to fix. No. Stop worrying about how old the thing is. You need to not have NFL games on a channel that should have CFL games on. That's number 1. Number 2 is expansion. That will always help the league because that generates excitement. One of the negative aspects of the CFL is that they do play a lot of games more than the NFL, and they only have so many teams to go around. So they play each other like 8 times. That's going to hurt. Expansion brings in a new fan base, gets people excited in an area, pulls them in, gets them interested in the CFL. Having games on national television instead of sports TSN, that also needs to happen. And I'm going to throw a third one out that needs to happen. And this could depend on the success of the XFL and USFL in the United States. I believe, and this is what the narrative needs to be, forget talking about 3 downs and 4 downs. If the CFL really wants to start cranking, making money, getting players to get paid, there is a huge market in the United States for gambling on football. If the USFL and XFL prove this to be true, remember, they won't be playing at the same time as the CFL is. If the CFL, and this isn't the 1990s or 80s, whenever that expansion from Baltimore happened, whenever that was, we are in a completely different, this is 2022, we're in a completely different world now. Now is the time to expand to get that Atlantic Schooners team in place. And if in the next 2 to 3 years, it is determined that the XFL and USFL is a legit thing and making money, television networks in the United States will look to something else to fill the void. Because if fans are into football, like they are in the United States, and are willing to gamble and all this other stuff, and the money is there, money talks, and bringing 3-down football to the United States should be something that is on the table. They have the relationships with Redbird Capital and the XFL. The XFL has the relationships with the NFL and broadcast partners. These guys could work something out. I'm not saying they should merge their teams or anything like that. No. I'm saying the CFL should go it alone back in the United States. That should be the long-term plan. Global expansion and bring it into the United States. It could work. The fact that fantasy football, as we are bringing News Hub Fantasy, is doing CFL fantasy football, that's going to bring in the younger demographic. Gambling is, and making it the content available. If your content is, trust me, as somebody who runs XFL News Hub, I can tell you when games are on ABC, national television, traffic to the site is way higher, even if games are on ESPN, sports channel. I am telling you, and we're going to see these numbers with the USFL as well. I'm glad that Randy Ambrosi is talking about expansion. Hopefully we've got what behind us, and we can start talking about that instead of switching things from 3 down to 4 downs, because that, my friends, is just a bunch of FUD. Your defending champion, 2-peat, 3-peat potentially. So it's been a month from now, for the first time since the CFL will be back to normal CFL games. We'll report to training camp on May 15th. Preseason will return. The regular season will be back to its normal schedule time. And so will the draft. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers have 7 picks, number 9, 18, 38, 47, 56, 68, and 74 in this year's draft. What do they need? A major problem for the Blue Bombers is their lack of Canadian players on the team. In the CFL, you need to have 25 Canadians on the roster. As of now, the Blue Bombers only have 21 on the rosters. If they want to three-peat, which supposedly, what's his name? Riley, the coach for the Lakers, whatever his name is. I want to say Michael Riley, but that's not it. Pat Riley, that's it. Apparently he owns 3-peat, so I might get sued for saying 3-peat. The team also needs depth at defensive line, linebackers, defensive backs, and the receiver position. Bombers general manager Kyle Walters needs to get a winner with the 9th overall pick, because they might have to start or contribute in year 1. Some prospects the Blue Bombers may have their eye on are offensive lineman Zach Pelhos, which I'm always like, first round, you pick an offensive lineman. That's what I think. Unless you're super stacked. Defensive lineman Nathan Cherry and wide receiver Anthony Magungu. Pelhos addition to the team would help boost to protect Zach Collaros, who was sacked 14 times, making him tied for 10th in QB sacks in the CFL, according to the football database. During his mature career at the University of Ottawa, Pelhos was lauded several awards, such as the 2021 AUA First Team All-Star, 2018 OUA second team All-Star, 2018 OUA All-Rookie Team, 2018 Matt Anthony Rookie of the Year Award, and 2018 GG's Offensive Lineman of the Year Award. Guy has got game. Since losing Jonathan Kongbo, who signed with the Denver Broncos in January, the Blue Bombers are lacking depth at the defensive line position. Nathan Cherry is a player that can come in and add an immediate impact for the Bombers, who are in pursuit of their third consecutive Grey Cup championship. Cherry played 41 games, racking up 56 total tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss, 10 sacks for 70 yards. The Bombers are also in search of a kicker since Sergio Castillo left for the Edmonton Elks. Castillo, great interview on the Markcast, if you want to check that out. Actually, I'm a big fan of Sergio Castillo after that. I have my vision board, Sergio. I got my vision board right next to me. That was from you, my friend. The Bombers will be bringing in multiple prospects to camp to compete with Mark Leggio and Ali Mortuda for the starting role. Leggio appeared in 14 games in his first year with the Blue Bombers, kicking and punting. During the season, he punted the ball for the Bombers 96 times, totaling 3,275 net yards. He also attempted 8 field goals and made 5 of them. Ali Matordia joined the Blue Bombers on August 30th, 2021, and was the club's place kicker for 5 games, beginning with his CFL debut in Edmonton on September 18th. He finished the career connecting on 8 of 15 field goal attempts, 53.3%, and was 17 of 18 in converts. He also averaged 66.7 yards on 28 kickoffs, which ranked second in the CFL. Quote, "We've got some names out there that we'll kick the tires on," Walter said. "The discussion is how many we would like to have at rookie camp, and we get eyes on guys prior to that, who's interested and who's not, and are there global prospects in the draft that might fit the mold? There are a lot of different options we're discussing." This is from Lamarck Wiley Jr. from CFL News Hub. So what do you think? Do you think he's got some guys out there? Do you think somebody else the Blue Bombers should take in the 2022 CFL draft? Who doesn't like a mock draft? I love Marshall Ferguson. Listen to his podcasts on YouTube and watch his shows. Really knowledgeable dude when it comes to the CFL. So he's got a mock 1.0 draft. So the CFL Combine presented by New Eras in the books, and the 2022 CFL draft is just a few weeks away. Marshall Ferguson offers up his first mock draft ahead of the draft on May 3rd. So he's got round 1. Your Edmonton Elks taking Tyrell Richards, linebacker out of Syracuse. First overall pick in the draft. There is pressure. It doesn't matter whether it's your buddy's marathon. Let's see. If Tyrell Richards fails to be great in the CFL, I would be shocked. And if for some reason he didn't become a bust there, it's absolutely no shame in Chris Jones and the Elks being fooled by the promise of the 6'3", 230-pound linebacker from Syracuse. He's got Tyrell Richards as number 1. A lot of people feel like he could be the number 1 overall pick, but even if he drops the 2 or 3, that he will not last long in the draft. Number 2, Ottawa taking also a linebacker, Encott Makonzo. Makonzo has played edge linebacker and occasionally bumped out into the interior pass coverage role, but the question now becomes, what will he be in the CFL level? Is second overall too high for a classic defensive tweener without a perfectly crafted role like Richards before him? So he's from Coastal Carolina, linebacker. The BC Lions take Tyson Philpott, receiver from Calgary. Choosing between Philpotts is really splitting hairs. Tyson is slightly lighter, faster, and more of a deep ball tracker. The Lions decided to go receiver here is the right choice based on the play style and overall fit after Shaq Johnson signed with Ottawa in free agency. BC needs help along the offensive line. It could reach here, but I don't believe there is a lineman worthy of a top 3 pick in this year's draft, making the question for Lions decision makers Philpotts versus the field. I am, and when it comes to the NFL and the CFL, I am not a fan of taking a wide receiver this early. When you try to get the best offensive lineman in the draft, you have number 3. Yes, I understand worthy of the 3rd pick, but you still can get wide. There's like wide receivers everywhere. Getting a good offensive lineman is hard to find, even if you have the third pick. I just don't think, I wouldn't even know if I would pick a wide receiver in the first round of any draft. That would be like the last. And you know what would be totally not the first pick I would ever do in the CFL draft, let alone any draft, is taking a tight end, Hamilton Tiger Cats, unless he was going to play offensive line. Just saying. Montreal with the number 4 pick. He's got Delonte Knight, defensive lineman, Western. All right, I like this. Could see pick going Queens, DL, Anthony Ferdicchio, depending on exactly what Montreal is looking for. But the loss of David Menard to BC means Alouettes will be looking to restock their Canadian passer pressure. Knight projects to be an interior pocket pusher with quickness despite primary playing end in his time at Western. This is a skill set that would create opportunity relatively quickly in Quebec. Here is Calgary at number 4, Jalen Philpott, because he has Tyson Philpott right here, with Ottawa, Montreal prioritizing different positions. Brother Tyson off the board. We're not even talking about the other 2 brothers being on this draft. The quarterback. Calgary gets Jalen Philpott to slide at 5th overall and happily take Dino's product to continue his career at McMahon Stadium. Some CFL evaluators I've spoken to believe Philpott could slide further after a combine that didn't match expectations, but that's not unlikely in an unusually weak offensive line class. Toronto Argonauts taking Anthony Ferdicchio at over 6'3", 235 pounds. Ferdicchio likely projects as weak side linebacker in the CFL game, but his nose for the football and athleticism as a defensive line in Kingston is what secures a first round grade for me. With an AOUA best 7 sacks in 6 regular season games played last year, he'll still get pass rush opportunities, but Toronto would be wise to add his toolkit to their special teams unit. Saskatchewan Roughriders, Raheem Brown, offensive lineman. Here you go. You telling me the 7th pick is the first offensive lineman you take in the draft? I don't know. And like I said, this goes for any draft. Originally, he had Bryant, running back Daniel Abadabio, whatever. Here is an immediate plus on special teams and possible future ratio changer at running back, but in a weak lineman class, I believe no player helped themselves more than Raheem Brown on CFL Combine weekend. Heading back to U of A in 2022 could drop his stock, but the Riders aren't in desperation mode looking for a plug-and-play lineman. They should take Brown, develop him for the 2023, and potentially add their center for the next 5 years. So, do you take a guy that's going to go back and not play this season? You're Saskatchewan, you've got a good team. That could be something where you kind of put him to side for a future date. But honestly, I would do a future date guy in the 2nd or 3rd round, not the 1st. I mean, unless, you know what I mean? You need immediate impact. You need somebody. Hamilton Tiger Cats, not taking a tight end. Oh, that's good. That's great. Joshua Archibald, defensive line from McGill. Feels as though every year Marshall drafted defensive tackle for Hamilton, prematurely assuming Ted Lariant can't play the physical punishing position forever. This year, the motive isn't replaced, but intrigue. Archibald was a pleasant surprise at the CFL Combine and could be phased in slowly alongside McKee Johnson and Dylan Wynn. This season, as a former first-round Ticats pick, Mason Bennett grows his influence at defensive end to create a top-flight Canadian tandem built through value drafting. So I'm good with that. And Winnipeg taking Noah Zier, offensive lineman from Saskatchewan. If Saskatchewan wants that, why don't the Saskatchewan take this guy? Once sooner, they could take Zier in place of Brown at 7th overall. But if the Riders pass, I can't imagine Winnipeg letting him slide past the first round. The 2021 All-Canadian list, 2012 Riders first overall pick Bane Heenan, a role model and all the potential to be a CFL mainstay for the next decade plus. Based on how Winnipeg drafts, develops, and restocks, this makes sense for Drew DeGenars signed with the New England Patriots. So Winnipeg taking offensive line. We'll go through round 2 real quick. Toronto taking Zach Pilhos, offensive lineman. Ottawa taking Daniel Adebandayo, running back from Bryant. Gregor McKellar from BC, offensive lineman. Montreal, Sherelle Hogan Sandin, an offensive line. Now we're taking offensive line. Here we go at number 14th pick. Calgary, Terrell Ford, DB from Waterloo. We were wondering when one of the Ford boys were going to go. Terrell Ford is a first-round athlete and cover man, but Canadians at CFL often roll a fit-based decision. Is Ford a safety? He wants to play corner, but not have the size or workload to warrant a top 10 pick. As usual, Calgary waits it out and takes elite value. Really excited about Ford brothers being in the CFL this season. Toronto at 15 will take Samuel Emelis, a receiver from Massachusetts. Saskatchewan at 7 will take Keaton Brungling, a receiver out of Carleton, after losing Braden Linnaeus to the NFL's Falcons. Riders could use some. Hamilton. Ooh, now we're talking. Hamilton at 17 taking Trey Ford. Just like his brother, Trey Ford is more than worthy of a first-round grade, but what his fit does to his stock is perplexing case study. Ford should earn the chance to make an NFL practice roster, but he always seems to be underestimated just how difficult that is around draft season with so many players coming back. Hamilton's starter for the future is Dane Evans, and backup Matthew Schultz is a solid compliment, but the Niagara Falls native who set endless records at Waterloo for career passing yards or touchdowns could split the geographical difference to keep the Warriors black and gold here as his passing gets refined behind the tactician and workhorse in Evans. The culture of Hamilton's quarterback room with offensive coordinator Tommy Candell would fit Ford nicely on the field. Potential is well worthy of bring priority pick. Now this, I like that pick. I like that Trey Ford pick if the Hamilton Tiger Cats can get him. A guy that maybe he winds up on an NFL roster for a year or two, or maybe doesn't at all, like we don't know, but let Trey Ford, a guy who's a lot of buzz in the CFL Combine, having him on a team like Hamilton would be really good, and not something that he's expected to play right away. Give him a year or two with Dane Evans, and then he'll be ready to go. That would be, and you could still gadget him a little bit and put him in because of his running ability. 18, Winnipeg takes Jaden Dalk, DB from Alberta, and Edmonton, Josiah Shackle, a linebacker from Alberta, and Ottawa, Jesse Lucetta, linebacker, Penn State. If you want to check all of Marshall's picks of his mock draft, as a Hamilton Tiger Cats, I like it. Marshall Ferguson on CFL.ca. Go over there and check out his mock draft. I am sure, my friends, there will be more to come and more adjustments on the way for that one. Cody Fajardo and wife are expecting, congratulations, changes perspective for the QB after restructuring his deal with the team. So in the CFL 2022 season, gearing to start its preseason matches in May, many are highly anticipating the start of the CFL festivities for sure, but perhaps no one more is excited than Rough Riders quarterback Cody Fajardo. But the Saskatchewan QB has another reason to be excited, and essentially has nothing to do with football, or does it? Fajardo and his wife are expecting a child, and as Saskatchewan QB recently told the press, it certainly puts things in perspective for the 30-year-old. Quote, "It's very exciting. I think it's going to put a lot of things in perspective. My why is definitely different this year because now it's coming from being the best husband to being the best husband and father now. Baby is due September 12th, so I'll be right during the season. Good thing it's not around Grey Cup. Glad they kind of planted it out that way." But in this news, the news seems to have a little quite lit the fire under the Brea, California native. He's looking to the season with a new sense of determination. His comments would certainly suggest, quote, "If there's ever a season for pressure packed, it's this season. We lost in the West Final back-to-back years to Winnipeg. I'm in contract year. We're having a baby mid-season. The Grey Cup is in Saskatchewan, so throw everything at me, and we'll see what happens at the end of the year." Yeah. Having the continuity in our roster, and myself and Moss and our relationship, I think the sky's the limit for our offense. I think he will have a better year this year for sure. He started out good and then just kind of tailed off. I think it will be very exciting times. It's better to have all the pressure in one season than no pressure at all, because I always tell people pressure and nerves means that you care. and I care a lot about bringing this Providence a Grey Cup because they deserve it. We have such great fans who care a lot about football, so I take a lot of pride in going out there and hopefully hoisting the Grey Cup over our head at the end of the year at home in front of our incredible fans. The team is quite obviously behind the QB star, especially when we take a look at statements released by the team after Fajardo and the team reached an agreement on a restructured deal moving forward. This is what the team, Jeremy O'Day, Vice President of Football Operations, had to say officially, quote, Cody has always been the definition of a team player, and this is just another example of that. His leadership both on and off the field has been a large part of our success, and we appreciate his team-first mentality as we head into the 2022 season. Fajardo played college ball in Nevada, signed with the Oakland Raiders of the NFL in 2015. Just a year later, he was signed with the Toronto Argonauts in the CFL and played with the team until 2017, which led him to a brief stint with the BC Lions. And it would be in the 2019 that he would sign with Saskatchewan, and that would symbolize the start of quite a relationship as we've come to see him over the last few years. And we have CFL News Hub congratulate Fajardo and his wife on the news of their new baby. And as football fans, we can speculate enough at having yet a third member of the Fajardo family hit the gridiron at some point in the future. After all, his father did play for the Texas Tech Red Raiders, but perhaps we're getting a little tad of ourselves. As for Saskatchewan, the 2022 CFL season, Fajardo and company are set to take on the Hamilton Tiger Cats at the start of the season, and game is set to go down on June 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern. CFL launches diversity in football program, so underrepresented voices and identities welcome to join CFL clubs for a unique work experience. Recognizing the myriad cultures and background that form Canadian society, the CFL launched the Diversity in Football program as a step towards greater inclusivity, diversity, and equity across the league and its business. Created with the help of resources provided by the CFL's employer partner, the Canadian Centre for Diversity and Inclusion, the program will see each of the CFL's 9 member clubs welcome an additional individual from a diverse cultural background to join its football operations or business administration department. Participants will spend approximately 4 weeks in the program, gain valuable experience throughout the course of their training camp, slated to open on May 15th and end June 4th with at least one preseason game. Quote, we often say on and off the field, diversity is strength. We are taking real practical steps to practicing inclusion and embracing diversity in our league and workplace. From CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosi. Does that mean Americans can do this too? The application process for this program opens April 2nd and closes April 20th. Interested individuals, we got a link there. Organizations that reflect their communities by promoting diversity and fostering inclusivity have been shown to be more successful and innovative, says Susan Jones-Bauk, Chief People Officer and Head of Office Operations. A bunch of other quotes here. I totally agree with that. I think this is a great program, and these are the kind of things you got to put in place to get the ball moving, get inclusivity, but also that just gives diversity, that helps bring fans to the game. Because if somebody's part of this program, they have relatives and so on and so forth. This is a good thing that the CFL is doing. All right, we'll take a commercial break and be back with your social media stuff right after this. Stay tuned, my Canadian and American friends.
Coming up this week on the Markcast, this is it. You wanted to read Rippin' Loose on the XFL. You might be getting it this week. Just remember, this is a pro XFL podcast. We're very pro all the leagues, but we call it like we see it. If I see something I gotta call out, I'm gonna do it. Loaded show. New XFL cities? ? Bubble season? ? New XFL coaches? ? Lots of question marks. We have lots of answers with Matt Lyons of XFL News Hub.
I mean, rebranding is big, but these fans are wanting something that they can interact with and that's tangible to them. Giving them a new logo and another press release and hype video is great, but we've gotten a couple of those, and that's not something the fans are excited about.
Lots of fun chatter with Matt Lyons. We're also breaking down the USFL announcements this week ahead of their kickoff next weekend and our big live show. Then your previously scheduled CFL content this week. We have President and CEO of the Edmonton Elks, Victor Cui. You wanted him, we got him.
There's not a silver bullet to that. I'm not the silver bullet. I'm not, even though I'm engaged on social. It is impossible for me to do it on my own. This is how we have to bring on and engage the whole community even more.
Then we are talking single game sports betting, gambling on the CFL, trying to get Americans invested, trying to get more Canadians invested. PointsBets Canada's Nick Skolsky.
The CFL is the biggest league that will be playing during the summer. Of course, there are a bunch of upstart leagues, and there's always things that are percolating. But the CFL has been around longer than any other professional football league in North America.
And then continuing our Montreal Alouettes Media Blitz, courtesy of the team, we have Jake Winicky coming on, talking all the offseason stuff, getting ready. He's heading to the West Coast, hanging out with Vernon Adams, William Stanback, and then getting ready for the 2022 CFL season.
It's a fun, special locker room, just the way that we just gel and just get along and just the way we spend time together.
Hope you guys enjoy. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, I want that. I want that premium experience from the CFL presented by Bet Regal. That was a little commercial there. I want that. So hopefully CFL News Hub has a monster year this year. We were like, because we were a news site, and then just as like the Grey Cup and the playoffs started talking, like things just started kicking in. We have our Android app. We have fantasy football this year. So we are poised to have a bigger year this year. Plus, we're having preseason. We're having the draft. We're getting that whole lead in and a nice summer long, back to normal schedule for the CFL. So we're super excited to see how that goes. Super excited for you to smash the like button. Let's get this video up to 20 likes, please. So take your time and smash the like button. What's up to everybody in the chat room? Sorry, we started a little late. Marcine says, hey, how are you, my friends? It's good to have a team game schedule again. Absolutely. But this is why I want the talk to be around. This is 18 games and there's only 9 teams. We need to add more teams to the league. I definitely, hey, if you can add another 3 teams in Canada, fantastic. But I think tapping into that American cash, just like the NHL does, and baseball, mostly we'll talk about NHL, NBA, but I mean, those are American focused, but you get the drift. You need that, getting that American money in there with the gambling and stuff like that. I think that would be huge. Theodore King, Moncton is better than Halifax. At least they have a stadium. He said, I agree with bringing 3-down football to the United States, though, to expansion, New York State, Illinois, Boston area. I don't care if you stuck a CFL team in Vermont. All you need is one CFL team on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. But, on the upper part, Connecticut, upstate New York, Seattle area, put them up there so they're kind of relatively close by. Put two teams. If you can go to the United States and make a deal, whether it's with Redbird Capital, and I don't care who it is, and you're like, listen, this is what we want to do. We will bring 2 teams into the United States, but clearly you need owners. Just get some crypto dudes to do it. Especially if you let corporations own I don't know what, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the deal is with all that stuff. But if you could bring 2 American teams, that instantly makes fans interested in the United States, because, all right, you don't have a team in my backyard. But what happened with the XFL and its 8 teams is that people, if you were DC Defenders, and I lived in Maryland, but you had Philadelphia, Virginia, Delaware, all of that area is like that would be DC team, or they would pick, St. Louis, or kind of like if it was in like a 6 or 7 hour radius, fans would pick those teams. At least with the CFL, you give Americans a reason. And if you don't put it on, I mean, could you imagine a CFL game on ABC or on ESPN, not this ESPN Plus stuff? It would be huge. Raging Dolphins Maniac says the problem with the CFL is that there's no place to watch here in the US. You can't learn about the game. You can't see. Wish they would put one full game on YouTube every week. You get ESPN Plus is where you can watch the games all the time. Sometimes they're on ESPN2. That's basically where you're getting it in the United States. But yeah, you can get them on there. Maybe that's just, but with all these rules, TSN has their rules and ESPN has their rights rules. But there's some YouTuber out there that puts the games out on YouTube. So I think you can watch them on there if you really want to. But yeah, you have to use all of the tools. Forget about changing rules. Forget about, changing the ratio rule or 3 downs versus 4 downs, 5 downs. Focus on getting the product into as front of many people as you can. And quit complaining about how the marketing is so terrible in the CFL. The reason why the marketing is terrible in the CFL is because there's no money to do marketing in the CFL. That's the problem. You can't have one without the other. So you need to generate that revenue. Other teams are starting to do it now. I mean, I love Reed's on the Markcast with Victor Cui. That guy got me totally excited about the Elks. He understands it. I think you're bringing in, Genius Sports and other things. I think this league is starting to go on the right path. I think it's on the way up now. No doubt about it. Racine says, why do you think is starting quarterback for Edmonton? I mean, you have, there's talk of JT Barrett as the guy. But again, and I've said this before, people will be like, well, you're wrong. But a lot of, yes, there are some American quarterbacks. Would you say, is it a factual statement to say that 80% of the American quarterbacks that go to the CFL don't succeed? Is that someone? Nick Arbuckle, but maybe they'll trade him away. You have Taylor Cornelius still on the roster. I think they want to go big with JT Barrett. But again, we've seen American quarterback. I would love to see it do well. That would definitely generate interest in the United States, but I'm not feeling it. And the fact that they want to get rid of Nick Arbuckle, I'm like, dude, I would hold on to him. I would not be trading him until you see what JT Barrett has. I mean, I wouldn't trade him till midseason. If somebody was really down a quarterback and you can get something for him, not at the beginning of the season. Theodore says, Raging Dolphins, the radio broadcasts are available on the internet. You can listen to most of the games and barbecue at the same time. CFL puts out highlights every week on YouTube. Older games are available. Yeah, I cannot wait. So we are, poised to watch the USFL games because we own USFL News Hub. XFL News Hub is next year. So I'm excited to watch the USFL games. But I did last year. It was really nice. Me and my wife would sit out on the deck, had the TV outside, and I pop on the CFL game and just relaxing outside with my dog, Finn. You have to meet him when he is not here right now. He's usually hiding underneath my desk. So have a lot of fun with that. But yeah, I can't wait. Summertime, watching some CFL games. It's good times, my friends. All right, let's get to some thanks for everybody in the chat. Make sure you smash that like button, please. Get us to 20 likes. Let's get on to the social media stuff before we wrap things up on the Facebook. Talking about Cody Fajardo and his wife expecting. Bill Clendenning says, congratulations. That's awesome news. That's very nice of you, Bill. Very nice. And I know Cody Fajardo is a good Christian dude. I am a Christian dude myself, so I'm always rooting for fellow Christian dudes out there, and he's doing good stuff in the community. The Blue Bombers draft preview that we were talking about. Don says, guess we will see the Winnipeg go from heroes to zeros. I don't know about that. I don't see why they're not poised to three-peat. Are you? Do you think that they're not going to three-peat? Do you think they're not going to be in the top 4 teams? But that's funny with the I think they are. I don't know, man. And that's a great story for the CFL to have a team three-peat. I think it would be a great thing for the CFL, honestly, because you have that team that everybody's gunning out to try to take down. They just won back-to-back championships. But now it's like, okay, now you got to really prove it in this season. So I think it would be good if they did three-peat. You know, having that juggernaut, that kind of just builds a lot of excitement. People want to take them down every week. So I think it would be good. The Blue Bombers favored for a rare Grey Cup three-peat, as we were just talking about. Doug says, in their dreams, unless the Winnipeg Mafia gets involved again. Last year, they were the only team to play a balanced schedule. Oh. Paul says, FTS, let's see what happens. Daryl says, I hope next time the refs see 2 teams on the field instead of 1. Terry says it's possible, not saying it will happen. And then WTF, they have the nerve to think this. Again, a lot of reaction to the Blue Bombers favored for a rare three-peat. I think they are favored too. From last week's show, really appreciate this, about talking about Rash and how he sucks. Andre says, who is this man exactly? Damn, he's sort of no BS attitude the CFL desperately needs. That was very nice. I'm happy he's unwavering and unapologetic. Well, thank you very much, Andre. I really appreciate those kind words. Just putting it out there. I don't have anything to be afraid of. I don't care what these people think. Half the CFL fans hated me last year because I came from the XFL world and I was American. Who cares? I'm a fan. I'm helping promote your league and I want the league to succeed and I'm going to enjoy it. And if you don't like it, I don't care because I'm just going to watch it anyway. It's fun and I'm going to make it better and I'm going to try to help bring more people to the table. You all talk a game. I'm actually doing it. Fantasy football, a mobile app. Who else has I don't even know if the CFL has their own mobile app. We got those. Plus, we're working on an iPhone one right now. We have all that stuff in place. Hopefully, that will be in place before the season starts. Put your money where your mouth is, broskies. And it's fun. And it should be 3 downs. Just keep it 3 downs. That's it. All right, on to the YouTube. Ooh, this is way off. On the YouTube, Theodore says, love the Shea Ross backflip. Totally love that. It's from last week's show. Theodore says, American quarterbacks have done well in the CFL. There are only 9 teams, so it seems like a lot fail. Of the top 10 QBs, number 9, the Birmingham Rifle, Dietrich Brock. Number 8 from Ohio, Matt Dunnigan. Number 7, Danny McManus. Number 6, Tracy Ham from Florida. 5, Ron Lancaster from Pennsylvania. 4, Damian Allen. 3, Warren Moon. There you go. And number 1, Anthony Cavello from California. Number 2, Doug Flutie from Maryland. So there you go of some guys there. But again, like I'm saying, 80%. Sam, Shady Sports Network says, genius ideas. I like the team quarterbacks ideas, but have you thought about a super flex position as well? I was talking about fantasy football. Yeah. One of the things that a mistake I made in News Hub Fantasy for this season, and we'll take a look at it right now, shall we? We'll take a look at News Hub Fantasy, is I think I originally I thought for the CFL, and let me tell you this, next week, News Hub Fantasy, you're going to be able to start signing up for leagues and inviting your friends. Yes. But I think what we're going to do, instead of having an 18, actually that would, let me think about that. So one of the problems that we had with the News Hub Fantasy is because we were forcing everybody to have 8 players. And in the USFL, you only have 8 teams. I think what we're just going to go is probably drop it down to either you could pick 6 or 8. And then, so you guys could start signing up for these. Right now, starting this week, definitely in the USFL or CFL side, you can have 8 teams. But I really think we might just do 6. This way, I don't have to worry about it's I still haven't figured out what we want to do about quarterbacks. Do you just take the team's quarterback, or do you take just an individual quarterback? Like I said, it was very frustrating because you would have teams that would have 3 quarterbacks play in a game and all 3 of them get a touchdown. And it's like, I don't have control over that. You know what I mean? And there's only so many guys that stay in the game most of the game. And even those guys would come out and then the other quarterback would run. So I'm leaning towards having, if you take the Hamilton Tiger Cats and that's your quarterback and still do, and you get all the points for that thing. That's how I'm thinking of doing it. Well, let me know in the comments how you want that to go, my friends. And finally, let's take a look real quick at the social media stuff. I'm not sure if I did these last week, but they were in my mailbox. I think I did. This was talking about the Canadian rules and how marketing and CFL sucks, that whole narrative. And like I've said before, forget the marketing. The reason why the marketing is not good is because there's no money. They're trying to save money and it's just not there. And old school money doesn't put a premium on marketing. So that's kind of why the situation the way it is. But don't focus on the money. Focus on growing the game by having a better television deal, having it on CTV, and also expanding to try to get a couple more markets going on so you don't have just 9 teams. And the ultimate goal, as in 5 years, is to expand into the United States. That's the way you got to do it. And I'm not talking about 5 teams, 6 teams, 8 teams. No, just 2. Just so that you can get that excuse of having the United States, like an ESPN or, a major carrier kind of really put you on television rather than, if you can make a deal, who knows? And these television networks, you got the AAF had to pay for their airtime. The XFL came in and they basically, the television networks covered the cost. And this go around, Fox owns it. NBC is paying Fox's for the USFL. And we all very feel like in the XFL world that they're going to be back on ESPN and ABC. And I would assume this time that they're getting money from those networks. So you think about how the transition changed versus the time that the CFL was in the United States when they first expanded. The money is there now. I think that's what you got to do. That's the key. Stop talking about how the marketing is terrible and stop talking about 3 downs versus 4. That is my take on that, my friends. Remember, if you want to be part of the show, if you think I'm wrong or an idiot, email podcast@CFL News Hub with your thoughts, or record an MP3 or video on your phone. Play it on next week's show, 888-430-7692, extension 3. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate that always on the show. You can download us anywhere and watch live XFL Weekend Review, CFL Weekend Review. I'm just going to call it that. Live 8 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you to everybody on the chat for hanging out with us. Glad to be back. We're a little late start, but again, I was hanging out with my friend. God is good. And, my friend was able to be in town. It was great to hang out and just chat, even if it was just for a little bit. So that's why we're delayed. We'll be back same time next week. More draft talk is what I want to lead to. And hopefully you could start signing up for some, but definitely by next week. And there are actually some teams already signed up in the system. Just need to clean it up a little bit, but that should be done in the next couple of days. So you can go to News Hub Fantasy and start signing up and inviting your friends to play some fantasy football that you're a part of. You're the ones that tell me how you want to make it happen. Send me a message or on News Hub Fantasy or on the podcast, and we'll check it out. All right, my friends, God bless you all out there. I appreciate you hanging out tonight. And you know what the deal is. As I find my thing, I will see you all later.